order. The Laredo ISD special call to order. The Laredo ISD special call meeting. Today is Tuesday, November the 29th. It is 5:16 p.m. We're in the Amber Uri boardroom, and we will have roll call.
Dr. Cecilia Moreno,
Present.
Hector J. Noyola, present. Cindy Liendo,
Absent.
Joe Valdez, Mr. Ricardo Garza,
Absent.
Mr. Hector Garcia,
I am present.
Mr. Jose R. Perez.
Present.
We have a quorum, 5 present.
Good people are here.
We'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Perez.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam President,
Yes.
if I may, do you think we can go with the reverse side of the agenda?
We have a motion for
Second.
that?
I'm sorry. If I may request, I think we should do item number 3 first.
That's what we just said.
Yeah, but I don't think we should do energy second. Energy's going to take the longest.
Let's take the number.
So I thought I heard the motion was to
recommendation
go, I thought the recommendation was to go in reverse
first. You
order.
want to start number 3.
Yeah.
Number 3 first, and then we'll go to the,
Okay.
whatever.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to bring up
Bring
item
number
number 3 first. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Dr. Nelson.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Good evening, members of the board. Item number 3 is discussion and presentation to adopt a resolution for a District of Innovation for Laredo ISD. Dr. Moreno, members of the board, and members of the public, thank you for being here. I know that this is a very important topic. We wanted to introduce this tonight because on November the 15th, right before the holidays, several of our leadership team had a conversation with our neighboring school district about what we call District of Innovation. That comes out of the most recent legislative session, and a host of school districts are reviewing all of the different options. In the interest of time, good evening, Trustee Liendo. You want to go ahead?
For the record, Ms. Liendo is present.
And so we just wanted to introduce the concept because we had a conversation with United about going forward with this. We do not have a plan. We're not asking for action this evening. But District of Innovation, if you research it, it is a statewide phenomenon. Charter schools have a certain amount of flexibility in terms of a host of school operations. Everything from site-based decision-making to contractual status to the calendar. And we already have conversations. We didn't just get with United for the District of Innovation. We already meet regularly with them, for example, on the calendar. And so this is, regardless of whether this board made a decision to go forward with any type of District of Innovation plan, we know the board has already directed us to have conversations with our neighboring school district about the calendar. Now, we didn't talk about starting before the 4th week of August, but we just wanted to introduce the idea. And I think in the interest of time, if the board would just allow us to engage with our staff on some of our ideas. Our commitment is to have a cross-section of employees in our committee, including our district site-based, but not just limited to. And so we want to prepare that feedback. And before we even bring a recommendation, we'll bring an update on those conversations. And it'll talk about exactly what we're thinking, the specifics of our plans. I did get a chance to meet with the outstanding leadership of the Texas State Teachers Association. I know several of our trustees did as well. And their intent is to curtail any ideas that involve District of Innovation. I don't have to speak for them, but I understand that it's because there's places in Texas where part of the District of Innovation plan is to change every employee's contractual status. That's not what we were proposing. There's other plans that have been out there that say it'll no longer be necessary to have a grievance process, never even discussed with United or ourselves. We're not trying to limit our support of teachers, we're trying to increase it. The bottom line for us is that we're going to have to continue to meet the ever-changing demands of the Texas Education Agency, and sometimes you need flexibility to do those things. For example, we have vacancies right now that are not filled. Okay, we've interviewed everyone in our list, we've reviewed everyone's certifications, and we still have 19 vacancies. Well, we got to get creative and to fill those. We have to fill those positions. We have career and technical education commitments that this board approved. We have a early college high school, not only at Texas A&M International, named after Mr. Garcia, but we also have the Dr. Dennis D. Cantu Early College that we're going to do regardless. Well, when you start needing teachers for clinical rotations in nursing, I'm not sure if they need to be certified to teach in Texas. I think a registered nurse would be more than adequate to teach our kids how to be successful nurses. Well, all that would have to come through some type of board-approved plan. We don't have a plan today. We didn't ask for action. Because our staff met on November 15th with United, we felt obligated to inform the board that we were having this conversation. We did not go to the staff or the district site base before we went to the board, because if you know how District of Innovation works, it's all about the board action. It's not like the early college process where the board takes action just for us to apply. If the board was to consider and approve a District of Innovation plan, it becomes policy. So understanding that that's where the board, we had a conversation with United, they're going to talk to their board in December, and we just got a head start on it by doing it on November 29th. So I'll stop at that point and that's the only introduction we wanted to make. We haven't talked to staff yet. That was going to be part of our plan. We agreed to bring, I can't commit to a number, but I can tell you it'll be a host. It's a cross-section of staff. It's not just a cabinet plan or a central office plan. We want lots of buy-in just to provide you an update. The next step after the update would be some type of recommendation.
Dr.
Yes.
Dr. Nelson, I personally would like to see a lot of the things, because I read on it, a lot of the things that the innovation plan, we can do as a board without going into this.
Absolutely.
And I like us to start backwards. I like to see what are we trying to get out of it? Because if we want to be innovative, why haven't we done it so far? Because we have the power to do it. This board has the power to move our calendar, this power, the power to do whatever we need to do by board action. We don't have to support a certain program, and I personally don't think, I right now, I want to see what our administration, what the committees have, then giving them a plan and say, okay, pick whatever you want and bring it to us. We still have to approve it, but I think, okay, if you're really serious about this, what do you want to accomplish by doing this? And bring it to us, and as a board, we're able to do, I believe, the majority of all of that without going into innovation, without going into, as a board, ourselves. So when I see that, and I see that there's a strong commitment to that, I can support that. If not, I'm not a board.
Yes, sir.
Personally.
Mr. Perez, you have some comments?
I feel the same way. I think this is new to us, and I think we need to develop and see, like you said, have a cross-section of all the
See what you want.
see what we want to do. I mean, does it come up and it's better for number one, for the kids, for the students, for the employees, for the administrators, and for the board? Or we're going to gain something out of it or not? Or we're just going with the bandwagon? That's my my thoughts. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Nelson, I like your explanation. We haven't gotten to first base, and at the end of all these studies, we're going to make the best decision that will be the best for the district.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Valdez?
Yes, I've been doing research on the innovation project. Unless this board has information on what it is and how it works, how can we make a decision either way? I do know this, what I found out, and I have discussed with some of the people that are here today, and they know that. Okay? Let me just give you an overall, and I think you will agree with me, Dr. Nelson, overall, it is a plan to let districts research those items that are suffocating their operations by state law.
Right.
And giving the district the opportunity to do away with the state law, but the district decides. The district is the one that decides. Now, I've got here 3 plans. I've already discussed some of this with some of the people that are here tonight. One is El Paso. El Paso has a very interesting item, and I just mentioned that because I think it's very important and it's one that hits home. Our teachers right now, according to state law, are evaluated according to the passing rate of our students. Am I correct?
It has a component, yes.
All right? You can do away with that. In other words, teachers should not be held accountable if students, for whatever reason, do not pass those grades.
Who should
They should be held accountable whether they did their part. Then you can put all those plans together. I just wanted to mention that one. You can do that. See, right now you can't do it. Now, I agree with Tito, Mr. Garcia, our trustee. I agree with him that we can do all these things on our own, but we haven't done them. Now that this thing comes out, it forces the issue. All right, let's do them on our own. Let's see what we can do to better our system. There are concerns, with the grievance procedure. We don't have to change any of that. Whatever other concerns are, we do only what is beneficial to us. No, we don't need to do these plans. The Harlingen plan, which I also downloaded, is a very simple one. And they did also a little bit with certifications. And then I did the Victoria plan, Victoria ISD and the Harlingen ISD. The Victoria plan is really unique. It would be too much to look into that and discuss it right now. But it's all in the internet. You can see it for yourselves. One thing you need to keep in mind, okay? This board is not going to take action that is not going to be beneficial to our students, our employees, and to the community, the parents, and so on. Some of the plans are very superficial, like we're going to hire good people. We will do that already, things like that. But there's a section in there that forces you to come up with what is innovation. What is it that we need to change in state law? Well, let's look at that. Like, who's afraid? We are the ones that decide. At this point, you said, at this point, we're not taking any action. Okay, fine. I have no problem. No. Some of these people did it since
Let everybody
February.
have a chance. I
Yes,
don't
sir.
know if
Yes,
Cindy's ready to say anything. It's her first meeting, real meeting, and not even a regular meeting. But if you, okay. Mr. Garza?
Okay, I think since 2012, we've been encouraging, or this board has been encouraging staff and administrators to be more innovative in what we do. We started throwing the word around innovative about 4 or 5 years ago, and we started telling them, don't settle for getting on that same rut. We need to take it to the next level. We want to be the best district in the state, we need to take it to the best level. Having said that, not everything that we say and do, because we use the word innovation, is going to be the best thing for this district. But I think, rest assured, for the teachers and everybody that's out there, rest assured, I think we have a pretty smart group of people in this room to figure out what's good and what's bad. So I would encourage everybody to hold off on conclusions and other ideas to knock down everything that staff has to bring forward to us. I think, if anything, by bringing this up, like I agree with Mr. Valdez, anytime you bring these type of things, they sort of tend to put everybody on notice, and everybody's antennas go up and start thinking about new and better ideas as to what to do. It doesn't stop only here, it goes across the board at LISD. So I encourage everybody to sit tight and let's figure out what we're going to do with this, and then we'll take it from there. I don't think this is going to be anything, I wouldn't want to support anything that's going to affect the teachers in a dramatic way. I wouldn't want to have this board have too much power either, in terms of having to do, some of us are not going to be here for a long period of time, and we need to figure out what's going to set up this whole system for success later on. So, like I said, I encourage everybody to sit tight and let's figure out what we're going to do later.
I just want to add that probably for every innovation that we can bring forward, there will be a pro and a con. There'll be somewhere a benefit from it, and there'll be a reason why it does not benefit the district. The bigger concern is that when this board leaves, other boards use the same flexibility in different ways. And that's a concern, and that could be taken to big grounds. But for now, we're going to listen, and we're going to see what things are being said that we could do anyway. And think about that. Do we even want to do those things? We know you can do them, but is that something that's important to us?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think very clear. I think that's very, very important what you said. If we want to do it, we already have that power to do it. We don't have to get into any kind of program to be innovative. You know what? Tell us what you want, study it, and then come back to us. And let's see what we can do. We can pass it to our attorney, we pass it to our superintendent. Okay, we have the power to do that. There's a couple that I think we don't need to get into anything to pass this. All we need is a board action. So I think we start backwards. I go, you know what? You all bring to us what you want to see, and let us as the board say, are we capable of doing that without even going into this? We're able to do it, let's go ahead. But we don't label ourselves that, you know what, we're doing this, and we don't put ourselves in any predicament that's going to hurt our teachers, going to hurt the system. That's basically what I like to
In
say.
fact, let me just add one more, and I like that also, that one of the things that we've been doing for the last, for however I've been here, or we've all been here, is that the encouragement, as I said, of new innovation and all these things. I personally get motivated by the fact that when we do things right here at LISD, other people copy us. This is no different. Let's not follow the plan that everybody else is doing, that's customized one for LISD, and let everybody follow us. So it might not work out the way, we might not even do anything. So, but at the end of the day, we want to be the leaders in every aspect of what we do out here.
I would like to caution, I appreciate that we work with United. Okay, I have a daughter and a daughter-in-law working over there. So, but every district stands on its own. We have our own special problems and issues. And, we should cooperate with them only in those areas which is common. But I got a little surprised that districts in Houston and in the Dallas area are dealing with bilingual and immigrants with special policies. And they're applying for special monies for all of that. See, we haven't even looked at that yet. There are so many issues that we need to look into. We just found out that we have a serious problem with children's diabetes. We haven't even started there. I talked to some of the people, I discussed it a little bit with Dr. Nelson, some of the research that is available in that. I do a lot of research. I'm a computer fiend, but you learn a lot of things. We haven't done anything with drugs. There's a new Surgeon General's report that makes substance abuse, including alcohol, a public crisis in the United States. It had never happened before. Now it has been declared, okay? Now that means there's going to be money coming in. The presidential elections were quoted. I could go on and on, but there are other issues. The Laredo Independent School District, according to the information we got from Floor, is losing an average, I averaged it, about $13 million a year that we could access in absenteeism. We have no special policies for that. It's about time we got staff together with other people and looked at this area, see what we can do. This forces that. We don't have to adopt anything if you don't want to, but this opens the door. And this is the difference between management and leadership. Management is already managing what we have in place. Leadership always looks for that new and better way to do those things. And this is where boards come in. And there's nothing wrong with us discussing it. If we, at the end, as you say, at the end of the day, find out that what we have in place right now is better than what we have found out, we keep on going. I say, we need a workshop, really.
Well, I think all the comments are well received. I want the unusual members at our meeting that are not normally at our meeting to know that I appreciate the concern. I know that there is a perception that District of Innovation is somehow negative for teachers and staff, and this is not a political conversation for us. District of Innovation is a status that started in the last legislative session. We actually, for the record, if you'll look at our notes in our, I forgot what we call Friday packets, we talked about District of Innovation over a year ago. And we introduced it, and the reason why we did it is because we got it from TEA. And at the time, Spring Branch was the only district that had approved it when we first introduced it to this board. And we've just been working on it now. Since then, there's been dozens and dozens of districts that have exercised all different types of possible options. You know, one of the options that for us is silly, but it's an option that was approved by a district in Central Texas, Round Rock to be specific, is that certain 4-year-olds will get to go to kindergarten. That's because they don't have pre-K. Right now, every 3-year-old and 4-year-old in LISD is welcome in our schools. We found a place for them to go. So every school district has this unique opportunity, as Trustee Garza said so well, to be innovative. Innovation has to be part of our vision because we have to change as the standards currently change. And so as this board has made decisions like to provide all of our high school kids laptops, to extend the day at some of our campuses, that's all trying to respond to the ever-changing demands that are being placed on our students and our staff. Now, I want to be clear, I spoke to Mr. De La Vigna, I spoke to Mr. Davila, and I applaud their concerns about this state political issue. Part of a teachers association is getting organized for the session. If you don't know, over the holiday break, the new U.S. Department of Education is all about school choice, all about charters. And so I'd encourage you to brush up on what does it mean to be an open charter. What we're talking about is the same flexibility that charter schools have. And I would ask, how many of you understand that? And so, because that's what we're facing. I don't think we necessarily have to do everything that charter schools do. I think we can do things better than them. We've already shown that in a lot of our data. But we want to let our community know, and especially this board, that we're committed to collaboration. We would not go forward without having such personalized conversations with a cross-section of our staff, and we'll provide an update before we leave for the holiday break.
Merry Christmas.
Is there any other comments or questions on this agenda item? If not, may we have permission to proceed?
Yes.
I'd like to recommend that we go to agenda item number 1 because I feel like agenda item number 2 will take the longest. So with that, if I may, Dr. Moreno,
Yes.
agenda item number, does that need any kind of action or anything?
I move that we go into closed session, if that's
Yes.
what we're going to do.
You want, for the record, it's agenda item 1, discussion and possible
Well,
action.
with no action, 1 would have been the next one, since that was the first one.
I see. All right,
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
so,
So, for the record, discussion and possible action regarding the potential acquisition of real property, including 800 Garden Street, possible closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.072. We recommend closed session.
So moved.
Take a vote. All those in favor?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
For the record, Mr. Rick Garza is present.
Mr. Garcia is present. It is 5:40 and we are going into executive
Vice
session.
President, good job.
Don't you chicken? And there goes your unions, and I told them where to go.
Agenda item for this evening is update on.
Do we need to at least take no action or anything? out?
I feel like,
No. No?
no, yeah, I think
Okay.
we're good. Item number 2 is our final agenda item for this evening, and it is update on retail energy contract. We have placed a multi-page document that our presenter will be referring to. As you know, we've had conversations now for several meetings regarding our retail energy contract. Our Director of Procurement, Chief Financial Officer, Executive Director of Plant Facilities, myself have spent a significant amount of time reviewing our options, including brokers, co-ops, consultants, energy pricing, variances, and this board approved in the last month for me to go ahead and execute a contract when we felt like the pricing was in the best interest of the district. So we've gotten that recommendation from Van Brunt and Associates, and we also have went out for an RFP. And that's where we're at today, and we need to go forward with one of those two options. Mrs. Van Brunt is representative of the Texas Public Energy Alliance and Van Brunt and Associates. She is also, in a previous position, helped us secure our current contract, which, for the record, we've had absolutely no problems with our current contract, and we've been very happy with the services we received for the last 4 years. I just wanted to put that in the record, and if you know our conversations, we wanted to hear from Ms. Van Brunt and allow her to interact with the board so that I can get clear direction on whether or not we're looking at these. We cannot execute the contract with Texas Public Energy Alliance and look at the RFPs.
If we go for an RFP, what's the timeline?
Well, the timeline, you know, it normally takes at least 3 months to complete an RFP review and compare apples to
I
apples.
think we can do it earlier than that, and I make a recommendation that we go into an RFP.
Second.
Well, this is, oh, yes. So you're saying prior to hearing the presentation that we have today?
So I have a question. So this is not a cooperative that we're looking at here?
Yes, it is.
And is that Region 1?
May I allow the consultant to speak to that? So the question on the table is what we're currently considering with Van Brunt and Associates, is that a co-op? Push. Well, and there's a motion on the floor, so I guess I should, but the board president asked me a question about a co-op, and I don't know the answer. So we've used language as if going with Texas Public Energy Alliance is similar to going with a co-op. But if that's technically not true, then we need to be clear with the board. So I don't know if...
Well, just for clarification, a couple of things. First of all, there is a motion on the floor that needs to be addressed, but there is already a pending RFP that's out there, so I don't technically think a motion be necessary, and I don't think that the wording of the agenda item as an update on the retail energy contract would allow for that, but I don't think it's necessary because there is an outstanding RFP that has a response deadline of December 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
But I just made a motion because the superintendent said that, you know, we have to make
Can't
a
do both.
decision. So this decision, in my, I'd rather go, I want to go out.
Okay.
You want
So
How do we
I
decide
see
that?
your point, yeah, I mean, but, yeah, okay, well, yeah, I mean, as far as the clarification, then not to go out for an RFP, but to go through the RFP process.
Finish.
Finish the RFP process.
because it's already started.
Right. And then just for clarification, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure this would come out, but with the RFP process, you'll hear, well, then if the response deadline for the RFP is December 9th, well, then what's this talk about it taking 3 months? Based on, you know, my understanding as I've gotten involved in looking at this, that it's the 3 months is an estimate of how long it takes once the RFP responses come in to evaluate them and sort through the information to make sure that we keep talking about comparing apples to apples, that you're going to see these different prices, but you're going to have to check and negotiate with the respondent companies to get their numbers in line to know that they're all offering the same thing and what those prices are. So anyway, that's a clarification, and that might require hiring a consultant to look at those responses. But-
Also, and I'm not trying to circumvent the governance rules that are on the floor right now with the motion, but I want to be clear that this board already authorized me to execute a contract based on pricing. So trustee Garcia's motion would then supersede that?
Right, and that's a very good clarification. Well, then I think the motion would have to include that an action to rescind the previous authority given by the board, the previous action to delegate authority to the superintendent, to rescind that and say, no, go through, or at least to suspend it and give direction and go through the RFP process as stated before.
And can we, well, if we lift that motion and we continue to go with his route, we're pretty much saving ourselves, I'm trying to save the 3 months in all this wrangling that we're doing. And if we continue to put it on, finish it up, just might as well get Dr. Nelson to move forward with it instead of waiting another 3 months with it.
Who prepared the RFP, and
How far are we along with that?
are you all comfortable that the way it has been prepared and the things that we're asking are the things that we need?
That's my question. I don't want to sign, I want to finish up the process, and let's see who's the best
Right,
value.
but
And I think that's what we,
does it include things that would not work against us?
That only an expert in
That
energy would
knows
know.
that- So who wrote that RFP
Staff,
with no
with no
knowledge?
consultant. We had a consultant, but he resigned.
Wait a minute, but we've been working on this thing for, we have history behind this.
Well, which is the reason why we posted the RFP.
Right, so.
But it does get technical now. When we go to open those responses and compare what we call apples to apples, it does get technical, and we will need to hire someone to help us make sense of those responses to our RFP.
This is the only problem that I have with that, is that almost everybody that's come through this board has some sort of tie with each other. So it sort of throws a monkey wrench at everything, because, this last gentleman that walked out on the contract had allegiances with, some of the people he was promoting. So
That's true.
I just don't know what the answer should be, other than the fact that, hey, let's put the blueprint that was put out last year and go under certain guidelines to do that. I don't think we're gonna, at this point, get a perfect scenario of where we go, because the different deals that I personally looked at some, in comparison, I'm not sure that, it goes anywhere from here to there. In other words, it's sort of like getting, some of it is undercoating when you buy a car, that type of stuff. And it's kind of superficial in what they're doing, but if you don't know the wording behind it, you're going to think it's something good, or you don't want to vote on it because you think it's something bad.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Dr. Moreno.
I think that if you're headed in the right direction right now and you can close that deal before the end of the year, going through an RFP is just going to confuse us a little bit more, a lot more.
Dr. Moreno,
Yes, Mr. Valdez.
at the risk of sounding incredulous, I don't really know what's at stake here, okay? How much
Big
money,
bucks.
how much money, well, all right, between one and the other one,
Seven.
if it's a lot, get the one that benefits us right now. What's the big discussion? And let me tell you this contract that we enter into, is it going to be for life, or 1 year, 2 years, or what?
No, it's,
Between
we have options.
It's between probably
No, we
between
don't like it, we
36
can't.
Let
and
me say this
48
too.
months, but probably 48
Is there
months.
guarantee in this that there's not a better rate? One, is there guarantee there's not hidden charges in this? No. Is there all that is not guaranteed, unless you're going to say, as the superintendent, I'm guaranteeing all this. And if something comes up, then.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can.
well,
say
and
that.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I want to be clear that not only did this board authorize my office to execute a contract, you also, after that, asked Mr. Kazin to participate in the review of what we were considering to authorize. So I feel like we are, and we've already started that process. So Trustee Garcia's points are well taken, and if we need to stop in what we've been doing with Van Brunt and Associates, and the reason why we brought the Texas Public Energy Alliance is because they're currently offering a proposal that they think is the best value to the district. Trustee Garcia, they are emphatic that it is in the best interest of the district. No loopholes or whatever comments you just
He
made.
asked a question.
Yeah, that's them.
Yeah, so I just know that there's a motion on the floor, so I don't mind bringing up the presenter.
Dr. Nelson,
Yes, ma'am.
how many other companies did you look at before deciding to bring Van Brunt and Associates to the board?
So I'm going to ask the Chief Financial Officer to come to the podium. And really, it's a good question. I should know the answer to it. So when we got into a relationship with Van Brunt, when we entered into a relationship with Van Brunt and Associates, who else did we visit with about that? I think we just went with Ms. Van Brunt because we already had a relationship with her.
We did look at other co-ops before Ms. Van Brunt.
And this board said, don't go with a co-op
And
to go
then,
get a
right,
consultant.
Exactly, go get a consultant. But
And then
we
the
had already
consultant
done.
quit, and now we're back with Ms. Van Brunt, who participated in the co-op proposals.
Correct.
So how many co-ops is the question
But
that,
it's not the Region 1 co-op.
No.
it's not, it's a
See,
separate,
And that, I don't think.
makes you
we-
uncomfortable.
Well, we didn't know that. We just assumed that,
Because she used to be with Region
right,
1.
we assumed that it was the Region 1 co-op.
No, it is not.
Right, and that's the
But-
information I found out today too. She's not part of the club, so you know what? I feel uncomfortable too.
She has a very good presentation, maybe.
What would be the savings on the yearly basis
Right.
for the district?
I'm sorry?
What would be the savings on the yearly basis for the district? Other companies, energy companies promise $500,000, quarter of a million.
It's about 300,000, 400,000,
How much, 400,000?
about $500,000 a year.
Okay.
What I think might be
Yeah.
beneficial is just a proposal.
So have we looked at at the co-op that we now have?
The Region 1 co-op.
Yes.
Have we gotten pricing from them? No.
No, because
Yeah,
we were
currently-
told to
Why did
not
we-
go with a co-op. We were told to go get a consultant. When we opened it up for co-ops, I wanted the Region 1 respond then. I'm sure they did.
But since we don't have a consultant now, it's not the same thing.
No,
I mean, we know what the co-op offers. We've dealt with them.
Right?
So how does this compare with the co-op?
Well, that's in
We-
the presentation.
right.
But we have a motion on the
With
floor to
no,
not go.
But how can we compare it to the co-op if we haven't asked the co-op for a price from them?
Right, and if you can allow her to make the presentation, we can work with Region 1 acquiring pricing and compare it?
Well, what I think we should do then,
Where are we in terms of running the meeting? Do we
there's
have
a motion on the
or no
floor to,
motions?
basically, and let me clarify, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Trustee Garcia is basically saying that there is no need for the district to continue with the previously board-approved authorization for me to execute a contract because we have RFPs that are currently being submitted. And her last slide in a long presentation was basically saying we cannot listen to her presentation and then go and open up the RFPs. And that's where
That's why I
Trustee
made a motion.
Garcia said, well, then, let's just go open the
So
RFPs.
if we listen to her, then we have to go with her at the end.
No, that's not true, but
Oh.
it does put her in a bad position.
If I can answer, if I can get these three questions answered, we can move forward with whatever we're going to do. If the RFP process is going to take us all the way to January, February, if this is what we're looking at. If we're
Yes.
sitting here today, and we're going to have a meeting in February to
The
decide.
contract ends in May, not to cut you off, but the contract ends in May of
Yes,
2017.
okay. By signing up with somebody and picking somebody in February, that'll take over in May,
Yes, sir.
what is going to be the district loss at that point because we didn't sign on it today?
Right.
I would say,
Can I just say that one clarification, there is no obligation to join the Texas Public Energy Alliance by listening to the presentation today. The presentation was you guys had a myriad of wonderful questions in the last meeting. I watched the video. I am here to address them, to address your concerns. And then the concept was, from Dr. Nelson, was to inform y'all and make sure that everyone was on the same page, and ask me questions, ask your staff questions. But there is no obligation, once I'm done, to have joined the Texas Public Energy Alliance. That concept here is, I've been doing this for 25 years. I will give you what I think is information. You can decide whether you can verify it. You can decide whether it's in line with what others are telling you. You can decide that it's completely different. You can leave here and decide all that. There is no obligation, by hearing what I have to say today, to join Texas Public
But
Energy Alliance.
respectfully, Mrs.
Yes.
Van Brunt, can we hear your presentation and your proposals and then go consider the RFPs as well?
You can. Well, you can decide to go do the RFP and just not join this. If you decide to join this,
No,
then
that's
you're...
not the question. The question is, can we get an offer from you and review it, and then go look at the RFPs?
I think you're working with a deck that's a little outside of the spirit of procurement laws, in which I'm showing you pricing.
Correct.
and
That's what I said.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
So
Yes,
I'm trying to
sorry.
protect the
Yes.
integrity of your outstanding work.
That's right.
And I'm trying
Thank
to protect the integrity of the board by making that motion that I don't want to hear this if we're still going to go out.
I have another question, Dr. Madalena.
Yes.
And I'm just trying to figure out how this board
Yes, ma'am.
works as compared to what, I've experienced before. If you were directed as our superintendent to look or to move forward with a contract, why wasn't the RFP canceled at that point?
I had that conversation, and we talked about that. Another question, and I'm going to answer that question, but another question was, why is there even an RFP out there if we already were entering into conversations with Van Brunt and Associates? And you'd have to look at all the meetings that we've had about this. We're not even talking about the meeting we had where we said, go get a consultant, and the consultant came back and spoke to this board. So how we got to an RFP, and we already are having conversations with Van Brunt and Associates, please correct me if I'm wrong, Director of Procurement, he's going to say because he got direction from this board to go post an RFP. Am I putting words in your mouth? Please clarify.
Well, we've been working with the Executive Director of Plant Facilities, going back and forth on the specs, and then we issued the RFP, sir.
We've issued the RFP based on a meeting that we had here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that's the answer to the question. That's what the trustee asked.
Initially, we were supposed to have an RFP, but the consultant was going to take care of preparing it.
Right.
And then, when that didn't happen, did we said that we were going to put out an RFP ourselves?
It was discussed in a meeting of this board. It wasn't our idea to just continue to do it. Mr. Velasquez, you want to clarify that?
Is there a vote? No.
What you just
It was
said,
clear direction.
Dr. Nelson, what you just mentioned is correct.
Ms. Liendo asked, if he was instructed to come back with a contract, why didn't you come back?
When we were instructed to come back with a contract,
Okay.
the RFP was already posted. It was out there. And the reason why I haven't removed it is because I don't feel like we definitely need to go with Van Brunt and Associates.
The board did that?
It wasn't done in the dark. It wasn't. Mr. Velasquez, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, basically what happened, as you mentioned, the original recommendation from staff, it was to join a co-op.
Like a year ago or 11 months ago.
At that point in time, it was, we need to analyze different co-ops and join one of them. During one of the board meetings, the board decided to go on our own to go out for an RFP. At that point in time, we said, okay, that requires expertise and we need a consultant. So we hired a consultant. We had an agenda item to hire that person. We selected one through an RFQ, I believe. However, the consultant is no longer with us. So, by that time, the process for the RFP was already in progress, and we followed the direction of this board, as Dr. Nelson just mentioned, going on an RFP. And again, it's out as of right now. It's due on December the 9th. But we feel that without the consultant, the process of analyzing all this information, because we're going to have retail energy companies mixed with brokers, mixed with energy representatives, mixed with possibly wholesale companies, And that's going to be difficult for us to really.
Which we agreed, not to cut you
Right.
off, Mr. Vice, that we were going to have Mr. Kazin help us
Correct.
sift through all that.
Correct.
So I want to be sure we answer Trustee Liendo's question. That RFP was out. I was uncomfortable with pulling it until we have a plan. Now, what staff wanted me to do is execute the contract, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they said we would pull the RFP. Well, I didn't want to just pull an RFP where people were already responded to without having awareness with this board.
So what do we do now?
And I guess what I would ask for in the future, John, also, is that when something like that comes up, is that the issue be brought up. If none of the trustees bring up the issue as to, well, what should we do with the RFP that's already in place, that somebody needs to bring it up and close that part of business, because we can't, I'm just not comfortable working this way. And I know I wasn't here at that time, but I am now, and I would just prefer that it's done a little cleaner. Or it seems, where it's just take care of one thing and move on to the next, or keep on with what you originally planned, instead of having these two open.
Point well taken. Yes, ma'am.
I just offer just an extend to that, because I think when you come to the board, and a lot of times, and I don't think, as it looks like, even staff is having some question about their own expertise and trying to figure out what is right and what is wrong. So sometimes I guess when I run into those situations, just give me the 4 basic questions we should ask by that time. If you can answer those 4 basic questions, that'll give it to you straight, as Mr. Garcia was just saying right now. What is our basic rate? It's like getting it at your house. What is going to be our basic rate? Are they going to use your penalties, disconnection fees? And what's the swing on this thing? Are we getting a 25% swing? Are we getting
That's 4 questions.
The
What
fifth
else?
question is.
One could be connected to the other.
Yeah, there's,
And the serviceability of your product. I think that's really where we stand. I think everybody that's going to be offering this product is co-op or not co-op, everybody's going to make money, pretty much. I think that's where we're at. How many intermediaries along the line are in place? That's the question. So our basic interest is to protect LISD and to figure out what the best thing for LISD is. What we cannot do is be, and not in bad terms, but be manipulated into going one route when we just don't feel comfortable in going that one route. But if that one route answers those 5 basic questions, and you can put all those companies that can answer that basic question, there's your bid process right there, because it's going to answer all those things.
well, with all due respect, I think that some of this is missing the context. And so Trustee Liendo's questions really helped me. I just feel like this is going on for a year now, and we brought a recommendation to go for a co-op, and respectfully, we were stalled. We were told to go do something different, and we've went different directions. Now, I agree we need to bring it back, but what we're doing now is we're saying we're going to wait and open up the RFPs, which is fine, but we are losing what they call the rates. And respectfully, Trustee Garza.
In January, you're not going to lose any rate. I don't care what they tell you. You're not
It'll
gonna
still
lose any
be, I'm sorry, Trustee,
Would our contract be with Texas Public Energy Alliance or with Van Brunt Associates?
With TPEA.
You would actually approve an interlocal to join the Texas Public Energy Alliance. Texas Public Energy Alliance has hired Van Brunt Associates to be its consultant. And you can see the members on one of the screens, one of the handouts that you have: Dallas ISD, La Jolla ISD, Fort Bend ISD, Irving ISD. This has only been in existence for a year and a half, and these school districts, large school districts, have fully vetted the program.
Page 14.
Yes.
But Ms. Van Brunt, respectfully, what I hear from at least the board president, if not others, is that this is not a co-op, and that's what we were comfortable with because that's what we currently are in.
Well, it's a cooperative in the sense that you are cooperatively purchasing, but I am very much a stickler for the terms, and it is not, in a legal sense, it's a political subdivision corporation. It acts as a cooperative, but it is a political subdivision corporation. That is the legal status of it.
And that's what has some board members concerned.
Right.
So that means that to me, and you know what, you didn't put all your cards on the table from the very beginning.
I think
And to me, I'm out.
for a while there, the impression was that
They should have
It was
done
a
that from the
co-op.
very
that
beginning.
you all,
Tell us everything
that
that's
you
going on.
were that same co-op we were with.
Right.
So for us to have switched over to,
Right.
it was
We
kind
even
of
had our
like,
attorney look into
we're
it.
going to
Why
continue
wasn't this
doing
brought
the
up to
same
our
thing,
attorney
and
our
that's not what it
superintendent
is.
Until the day of. It's just very unprofessional,
Okay,
in my.
In other words, we haven't in any way compared this entity with anything else.
Right.
We wouldn't have had to compare, Region 1 because we were already a part of it. It was easy to say.
Region
let's
1 had
continue.
vetted it, right.
But that's not what this is.
So, based on the dialogue from the trustees this evening, I believe it would be in the best interest of the district to table this item, allow us to finish the RFP process, and then come back with recommendations. We're going to try and, the RFP process closes December 9th, and I'm going to ask John Kazin to hire a legal consultant to help us review the RFPs. Someone who has expertise in energy consumption.
which then in turn can be you, right? So we pretty much gone full circle.
Well, you could hire Van Brent Associates, but you'd have to hire us you'd have to go through another RFP for a consultant.
Right.
Or TPEA could bid through your RFP process, but there are some suppliers, the issue came up because you issued the RFP and you've got brokers, you have 4 or 5 different brokers going to the same suppliers asking for bids. Reliant got 4 or 5, all of them have seen it, and then, and so there's this, and those suppliers, Reliant will only bid through one channel, and so you don't know if their contract is going to be similar to another. I mean, yes, to answer your question, yes, it's full circle.
Okay.
Right, but Mr. Kazin doesn't have to procure a legal expert in energy. He could just use his network as the district's attorney, participate in the RFP reviews, and if the board is comfortable with his recommendation, they can consider and possibly take action.
Okay, but
So we don't have to procure you. He can hire legal consultants.
But I'm not a lawyer,
Right.
right,
So, I'm just.
Legal
with all due
consultant. So he
respect,
can hire a
it's
legal
not her.
consultant.
Dr. Nelson, is
She's
there
one
a
of the people trying
penalty
to
for
get it.
us going into a contract before the other contract is terminated?
It's a good question.
it's not to take effect before the current contract expires. It's to take effect at the time you're just locking in a price
Right,
now,
that's what we're doing.
is what you're doing. But I just wanted to mention there's another alternative. I mean, Dr. Nelson just spoke in terms of, well, then we'll complete the RFP process. I mean, the other alternative is to go get information about, but to the extent the board is talking about it, to get information about other co-ops and
Different
what their
co-ops and
prices,
compare the
whether it's
different
Region 1
co-ops.
or something else, is
'Cause
get that
that's already
information.
What we're receiving from Texas Public Energy Alliance.
Similar to that, right. Compare different co-ops.
Yes, that's right, so that may make it not necessary to have to complete the RFP process. That may take longer, you have to go into months
Right.
of analysis and comparison and everything else is
But if we
maybe.
stop the RFP process, we need to tell the board before we
Well,
stop.
if you.
That's what I heard. And I
If the
respect
board
that.
desires that, yes.
So that's
It ends
going
on
to
the
delay,
9th,
that's a
right?
meeting to do that.
It ends on the 9th anyway.
That's true.
Is it possible
Next
to
week.
do? Is it possible to do this from your expertise? That, I think the biggest thing is the worry about losing the rates that are going on right now. What are the chances that it's sort of making it like an earnest money contract, where you settle with
Good
somebody
faith
right
option,
now?
like by-
With the option of leaving if we can, by the time we finish procuring this whole process. I'm looking at it, I'm not sure that it'll be fair for the person doing it, but
Because you're putting a price on it that.
yeah, because, well, wherever the RFP is going to be, if you lock it in right now, the RFP happens at the end of January, the rates are going to be higher, so there's no way that they can compete with somebody that they'd lock in right now. So in my mind, I was thinking of, well, can we do anything temporarily until this whole mess is done?
No.
Probably highly unlikely that any company would want to say, well, you can enter in a contract, but you'll have the option of terminating it if you get a better deal, is what we'd be asking them to do.
No, that's afterward.
And are most of the, in your alliance, are most of them are three-year contracts?
It's completely up to the member. We awarded a 54-month yesterday. Many of them have done 36 months. There's been some 48. It's completely up to the market view, which is kind of some of the things I wanted to talk about today, is having y'all develop a market view and what makes sense from a term perspective. But it's completely up to y'all based on what you think the market's going to do and what your comfort level is for committing the district.
And this process you've already done with procurement and with Mr. Velasquez and finance, what you're about to show?
I have reviewed the slides. I have done this sort of thing with your district, 2 other contracts before.
Okay.
But I was with a different purchasing group at the
Mr.
time.
Kazin, myself, Mr. Velasquez, and Ms. Ayala all have reviewed what we were going to present tonight. But we can, it's
the wishes of the board to move forward with
Conversation
this?
about this is gone, and it's split.
I could present and leave the pricing out if you wanted, so that wasn't part of public record, but, and so that you can at least get some, I really did touch on your concerns.
I understand what you're trying to do, but once you've given this, it's public now.
Well, you have, but yeah, you have
John,
already,
quick
so.
question. In our motion, can we revert the motion to make a motion to table completely?
Well, what I'd recommend, in looking at the
That's what we
wording
need to
of the wording of the agenda item, it's only worded as an update anyway, and so I would, obviously there's direction where, as long as there's an understanding, if there's any concern of the board members that the superintendent's not going to take any action until he comes back and, makes, and reviews it with the board.
Well, and I just want to emphasize, in the interest of, first of all, welcoming Trustee Liendo, but I want to emphasize the board had already authorized me to execute a contract. Had I done that, it would be inconsistent with what this board did or is expecting. So I just want to be clear, because that's why I brought it, because it was never clear. When the board authorized to execute a contract, there was an RFP out.
Well, I think.
And so that's one of the reasons why I brought an update.
I
I
think
think
they shouldn't
that-
have been out.
I
Either
think-
one or the other.
I agree.
I also think that when the board authorized you to do that, it's because you were going to be working with a consultant that was going to,
That's true.
guide you.
And Region 1, which,
No.
yeah.
We had already, the consultant, any case, we like to, I
So move.
support Mr. Garcia's recommendation to table. I'll work with the board president on scheduling a meeting with the full board as necessary.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So there's a motion to table then.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Well,
Okay, not a motion to
We don't have to-
table
we don't have to
because there's
table,
no
just-
action.
there's no
on
action,
this
or no action. Okay.
So, we have a motion to adjourn? Yeah, and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Make sure you know,
And
Nick,
this is my presentation, y'all can have it. I don't wanna
yes, if you could give us, if you want to take your copy, you can, but if you want to leave them with us, you can as well. Nixon plays Alexander at 7, just wanted you to know, at Nixon.
7:30 or
Unless you
7?
want it.
I don't understand. I really don't.
Yeah, get them, yeah.
I don't know what the deal is anyway.
Mine right there, trees.
Thank you, sir.
And I bring that to you.
I don't think it's